story time. And today we're going to read The Name Jar by Yang-suk Choi. A little girl who was named Eunhae was riding on the school bus and looking outside the window and saw all the new buildings and houses that were different than what she's used to. But when she was on the bus, she was heading to her first day at her new school. She was nervous but also excited. While she was sitting on the bus, she pulled out from her pocket a wooden box. She was feeling it around in her pocket and was remembering when her grandma lived in Korea, and her grandma stayed there, and she flew with her family here. She looked at her grandma and she was very sad and crying. She wiped her eyes and gave her a sack, a red pouch. And it has her name in the inside. My name? Okay. So she was feeling around in her pocket and pulled out that red box. And it had rips and holes with her name on it. And she just felt it, and she was thinking about her grandma, and she smiled. Yoonhae was sitting there on the bus when a boy turned to her and said, "Hey, are you going to use that for show and tell?" And many kids looked around, and Yoonhae said, "No, this is mine." A girl came up over the seat and said, "Are you new? What's your name?" She said, "Yoonhae." The girl said, "Yoonhae?" And another kid heard that and said, "Ha ha ha, Anhae, oh hey." And Yoonhae said, "No, it's Yoonhae." The boy said, "Oh, okay, Yoonhae. Sounds kind of like Yuhei." And then it could be said, "Hey you." Then they finally arrived at school, and the door opened, and Yoonhae got up and got off the bus quickly, and all the kids watched her and said bye. Yoonhae was blushing and entered the door to her classroom, and there was many kids in there. But luckily, none of the kids from the bus were in her classroom. She was blushing and not feeling very well, and then a boy with curly hair and freckles said, "Hey, come on in. Are you new?" "Yes." "Oh, come on, come on." And he grabbed her arm and they walked in. The teacher was named Mr. Coco. He said, "Okay, class, sit down. I want to introduce you to our new student." So the boy with curly hair said, "Thank you." And she said, "Okay." And Mr. Coco said, "Please welcome our new student. Her family moved here from Korea last week." Standing nervously. But inside, Yoonhae was very nervous. One student raised his hand and said, "What's your name?" "I was thinking about my name and how the kids teased me in the school bus. But I said, I don't know what my name is yet. I'll let you guys all know in 2 weeks. They all just stared at me. The teacher said, okay, go have a seat at your desk. And she walked to her desk while all the students looked at her. She could hear the students talking and said, why does she have a name? Boy says, maybe she robbed a bank in Korea and she came here and needed a new identity. After school, she rode the bus home, but the kids that were teasing her weren't there. She sat with her mom, or she sat and was thinking of a name. And then finally, when she arrived home, she went inside and sat down with her mom. Her mom said, how was school today? Did you understand your teacher? Yes. She took off her backpack and saw her pouch with the picture from her grandma and set them out on the table. Yoonhae and her mom were sitting next to each other, and her mother said, I'm glad you can speak English so well. You're going to get such good grades. I'm so proud of you. I will. I was thinking maybe I should have an American name. Why? Yoonhae is a beautiful name. Your grandma and I went to a name master to decide and give you your name. My name is hard to say. I don't like how it's so different. You are different, Yoonhae. It's good to be different. Yoonhae and her mom went grocery shopping. They drove and she saw different places and different buildings all along the line. She was walking all around and she saw falafel business, and then she saw Tony's Pizza, and then she saw Dot's Deli, and they were looking around and she didn't know. She was just kept walking. Oh, and then she finally found a store that had the English and Korean name, Kim's Market. They went into the store and her mom grabbed some lettuce, and they were deciding to make a Korean meal. She grabbed some vegetables, some meat, and ingredients to make a soup that was one of her favorites. And she told Yoonhae, just because we moved to America doesn't mean that we're not going to eat Korean food. When they went to go pay, there was a man at the checkout station. He looked at Yoonhae and said, are you helping your mother grocery shop and help pay? Mm-hmm, Yoonhae said. The man said, well, welcome to Kim's Market. What is your name, Yoonhae? Oh, that's a beautiful name, the man said. Do you know it means grace? Mm-hmm. My mom and grandma went to receive my name from a name master. Grace, girl, you put it together. It's a beautiful name. They grabbed all the things from the basket and left the grocery store. That night, Yoonhae was standing in front of the sink and the mirror, and she said, "Hello, my name is Amanda." Oh no. She said, "Hi, my name is Laura." Maybe. And she was thinking, hmm, maybe that's not right. I don't know how I feel or what's right. Yoonhae was brushing her teeth and thinking, she was thinking about Korea and how her name doesn't fit her. The next morning, she went to school, and in her classroom, at her desk, was a glass jar. She picked it up and looked around and pulled out one of the pieces of paper, and it said, Daisy. And the girl sitting next to her was named Candy. And she said, Daisy's my sister's name. If you want it, go ahead. So Yoonhae picked up another piece of paper and it said, Tamela. The boy sitting next to me named Nate said, Hey, I found that name in a story of this healthy, beautiful woman named Tamela. Yoonhae looked at the jar and was pulling out all the different pieces of paper with different names. Wednesday. His name was Ralph. He said, Remember you came here to school on your first day and it was a Wednesday? Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you're all helping me so much. There was so many more names that were thrown into the jar. I liked all of them. It was 3 o'clock and school was finished and the bell rang. Yoonhae looked out the window and it was very windy and raining. She looked around and it looked very different. Kids were leaving school. Groups of kids were walking away from school. She looked around and she saw the boy again with the curly hair and freckles. His name was Joey. Do you have a name yet? I'm still thinking. I will show you. Hold on. She picked out, she took out her wooden box and she stamped her name on the paper. And she said, My grandma gave this to me from Korea. And the stamp is the same. She said, I really miss my grandma, and so I'm going to use this stamp as my name. So Yoonhae grabbed the paper and she stamped her name. It was red and it was shiny on the paper. It was so beautiful. Will you keep this for me? And he said yes. They went outside. It was still raining really bad. We had an umbrella and we walked out of school. Every day, kids would throw names into the jar. I would pick one by one out and read them. There were so many names I liked. Miranda, Stella, and Avery were my favorites. It was break time, and we were all eating. And a teacher named Mario wrote down on a piece of paper and put it in the jar. I hope you pick mine. And then there was 3 more names put in there. Madison, Park, and Lex. Yoonhae was sitting at her desk when the student Rose, came up and said, I'm going to close my eyes and pick out one of the names. And Yoonhae said, why? That's so silly. What if I don't like it? We were all born with our own names that were given to us, right? The class was silent and was thinking. Yoonhae left school and arrived at home. Her brother came in, and he was holding a letter from their grandma. Yoonhae opened the letter really fast and was reading it. Yoonhae, I hope you're having a great time at school and making lots of friends. Make sure you help your mom and your younger brother. Look up at the moon and at the sun. And even though that we're far apart, in Korea and America is very different, but it doesn't matter. You, Yoonhae, are always you and I are always close. That's what the letter said, and Yoonhae took out her wooden box and stamped the paper. Yoonhae went to the bathroom, and on the mirror, she was thinking and looking into the mirror. On Saturday, Yoonhae went to Kim's Market again. She met a customer that looked at her and said, "Hey, Yoonhae." It made her feel like she was back in Korea. Yoonhae was walking out of Kim's Market and saw Joey. And he said, "Your name is Lisa?" "No, my name is Yoonhae." "But just for your information, my name means grace." Joey talked and really slow and said, "Yoonhae. Perfect. That's a perfect name for you." And Yoonhae smiled. And Joey said, "Are you ready to go to school tomorrow?" And he said, "Yep, I'll see you on Monday, Yoonhae." And then they left. "Why was Joey by the store, I wonder?" Yoonhae said. On Monday, Yoonhae arrived in her classroom early because she wanted to see the name jar. she sat at her desk and noticed that the name jar was empty. Joey noticed that the name jar was empty also. He asked, "Where are the names?" And Yoonhae said, "I don't know." She was looking around and asking the teacher, and every desk was empty. There was nothing on the shelves or in the cabinets in the whole classroom. All the kids were looking around, got on their knees to try to help find the name jar. Mr. Coco entered the room and said, "Hey, hey, hey, the name jar needs to be finished." Yoonhae said, "Okay." "Did you read all the names in the name jar?" Yoonhae said, "Yep." She was breathing heavy, and Yoonhae said, "I'm ready to introduce myself." So she wrote on the blackboard and wrote her name, Yoonhae, and underneath she wrote it in Korean. All the students were looking at her. When you guys all threw out your names and suggestions, there's some funny names and some really beautiful names. I really like them. But I was thinking and realized that my name, original name, is what I like best. So I picked my name. Korean names have meanings. So my name means grace. So Yoonhae, Yoonhae, Yoonhae. And all the students were trying to pronounce her name. Yoonhae name sign is Grace. All the kids were trying to pronounce her name, but were not correct. She said, "Let's speak my name slowly, again and again. Let's practice." The teacher was trying to say her name in practice, and they were deciding who could say it best. All the students were cheering because Grace was her name. One of the students raised his hand and said, "My name means flower." The teacher said, "Students, and America's name have a lot of meaning as well." Did you guys know that? When the class finished, all the students came up and said, "Bye, Grace. See you tomorrow. Bye, Yoonhae." And they all left school. Yoonhae was looking around for Joey, but she couldn't find him. The class was empty, and everybody was gone. All the friends were saying, "Yoonhae, come on, Yoonhae, come on." So she ran down the stairs, and her mom said, "You have a visitor." She ran downstairs to see who it was, and it was Joey holding the name jar. And Yoonhae said, "Where did you find it?" Joey, he was holding the name jar, and said, "I took the name jar and I hid it because I wanted you to decide your name. And I didn't want to be different than what you already have as your name. I wanted you to keep your name." Yoonhae said, "Yes, I will keep my name." She said, "Thank you, Joey." 1 minute. She pulled out the paper and the name said, Joey said, "Oh, forget that. You keep that. We should probably bring it back to the classroom." "Your name has a good meaning." "Yeah, but thank you for helping me find my original name and to keep it." Yoonhee put the jar down and took out her wooden box. That was from Korea, and she stamped her name onto the paper, and then Joey stamped his name on stamped it too, and he handed it to her. "That's my friend." "Yep,